Alright, welcome back to a new TouchDesigner tutorial. And in this one we're going to look at instancing with replicators. And this is going to be a bit different from my usual tutorials, because it's not really like we're building this one project from beginning to end, but it's more like we're looking at this technique and at different ways how to use it. And sort of, as the title of the video says, it's a proof of concept. So I'm just trying to show you, like, trying to just get you started with what is possible and how you can use this technique in different ways. So why are we actually looking into this technique? So the thing is, you know, I really love instancing as a technique. It's really nice and powerful. You know, just drop the geo in here. You have all the options here, and I mean, it's you can do really cool stuff, especially in combination with tops. But yeah, it's got its limitations. And for example, you know, you can only input SOPs. You can only input, like, you can only instance SOPs, and you can only output tops. So you can only render whatever instancing network you're creating as a texture. So you can't actually, you know, make several instances of an instancing network, because you can't output 3D data. You're not actually outputting 3D data with the instancing, or, like, you know, SOP data that you can again reuse to instance. So that's one of the things. And because it's only SOP input, we can't, for example, instance lights or cameras or other, like, components and things like that. So yeah, with this technique it's actually possible. And as you can see here, like, this is one example where we're actually doing an instancing network, and then we're, with this technique, sort of instancing it again. So that could be, you know, done many times. And yeah, it's quite a powerful technique, I think, and it's just fun to discover new things. So I'm going to delete this, and we're gonna do this in three sort of projects here. We're gonna start with the basics, and yeah, let's go. Alright, so what I've got here is just a simple container that you always basically have. Just change the background top to ./bg and change the width and height, but you know, that doesn't really matter. Let's just dive into here. For you it's going to be empty. For me, I have already set up a render network and my instances base here. We're going to look into that in a second. I'm just going to delete everything and rebuild it with you. So I'm going to add a camera, and also want to have a render and a light. And for the camera, I also want to have two nulls. So I'm actually just going to add one null and, like, make this smaller, and by pressing C, giving this a black color, and just copy paste that. That's what I usually do now. And call one look at, and the other one, whoops, the other one constrain. Then I'm going to go to the cam here and drag these onto the corresponding parameters, and then we can easily, like, we're more in control of our camera basically. We can now I'm actually going to give this, like, an orange color, because this is what we're going to control the cam with now. And don't really need to change anything about the light for now. I'm just going to go ahead and add an RGB key. So we have a black background and a null, call it BG, and there we go. All right, so what we want to do now is create a base so we can put all of our, like, instancing stuff in there. So I'm just gonna drop that here, call it instances, and just make it a bit bigger, and again give it, like, an orange color so I know it's, like, important. Okay, so let's dive into here. So as you saw in the beginning, I just wanted to have 4 boxes, like 4 rectangles, going like a diagonal line up. So first off, I'm just gonna, like, place them next to each other using our new replicator technique. So I'm actually gonna just drop a replicator, and I would suggest dropping it at the home. So if you just press H, so if I just delete this, go anywhere, if you press H, you're gonna, like, land here. And it makes sense because the replicants are gonna be appearing at the layout origin 0, 0, which is right there. Okay, So what we have here with the replicator is we can select our replication method, and we can select either by number or by table. And I would just suggest always using table. And so we always need to like convert our instancing channels into a table in the end. So we can use that here, and then all our like instances are sort of going to be replicated here based on that template dat. So first off, let's actually make a base here, and like another base, and just call this item 0. So it's going to be our first instance, and we're going to drag that on here. And you can already see the operator prefix is item, and that just means all the other replicants, or like children, I don't know, all the operators that are being recreated, are created, Jesus, they're gonna also be called item, and they're gonna also have a number after the, like a digit after its name. All right, so let's go into the first item here, and here is actually what we set up here is gonna just be copied. So what I'm gonna do is add a rectangle and connect that to a geometry, and I'm also gonna add a constant material so we can change our color if we want. All right, so we just got a white rectangle now, and so for now, let's not actually change anything here. For now, let's go ahead and make our channels. So I'm gonna just use a line to place our instances. So line stop, and I'm just gonna use I'm just gonna put like -1 here. So our line goes from -1 to 1. I'm gonna change the number of points to 4. So for now, right click in here, display options. You can like display these. Now you can see nicely distributed 4 points between -1 and 1. I'm gonna add a null and a chop to sop to chop, because the thing is like we can't actually convert from sops into dats, so we need to like go the route via chops. So I'm gonna add another null, and now we can do chop to. And let's add another null, because it's just so much fun. And let's call this one pause for position. So it might seem a bit counterintuitive to like go all this route, but yeah, I mean it might be, but it works still. It's fun exploring this. All right, so now we got, as you can see here, we got a table with like, this is like our x, y, and z, and we're like just placing them between like -1 and 1. As you can see, we have 4 instances. Perfect. All right, so I'm gonna select my replicator and just drag our pause onto the template dat table. And as you can immediately see here, we're creating replicants, creating copies of our master here. So all of these have the same content now. They all have a rectangle, geo, and a constant, because that's what we put into our first one. So now what we got, if we go back here, we don't actually see any of those, so we need to actually type those in here. So we need to go into the instances, so instances, that's in here, and then we need to go into each item, so item, and then whatever number comes afterwards, and then the geo in there. So we can just go back to a render, type /, so we go into the instances, type item, and then asterisk for all items. So every item is going to be selected, and then it's another / and another asterisk, because we're just going to like select all geos that are in there. And now you can see we see a little rectangle here. Cool. The thing is though, they're all like, we're actually seeing 4 rectangles, but like they're all in the same spot, same scale and everything, so it just appears as one. So first off, I'm just going to go in here and change the uniform scale 2.5. And now you're going to see, all right, this didn't actually like change, because you always need to like update all the items. So for that, I'm actually just going to add a keyboard in chop, because we have this recreate all operators. So if I click on that, you can see now it's smaller. but I don't want to like go here and click every time, so I'm just going to use our 1 key as a reference, and so now every time I press 1, all of these are being recreated. So every time you change something in the master, you need to recreate all the operators, so they're being updated. Alright, so I'm gonna split my view here and go into my master again, and then what I'm gonna do is just look at this table again. So what we want to do, we want to change the translation, right? We want to change the TX for every instance. So there's there's like one major thing here actually, and if we just go back here, we have an individual ID sort of, right? We have like a different number for all of these, and so we can actually call that to do like a different sort of action each time. I don't know how to explain that better. I'm just gonna do it. All right, so I'm just gonna type in OP. So we want to like get data from this position. So I'm gonna go one step back. So back to from our item 0 into here. And then I'm gonna type in pause. And then 0 and 0. All right. So now you can see we're actually grabbing this value, right? If I were to like put in 1 here now, we're now grabbing this value because we're like going 1 row down, and we're still in the column 0. So if I were to like change the column now, you can see now it's again 0 because we're like here taking that. All right, so let's just change that again. So we want to like make this dynamic, right? So for every instance, it should grab a different value from here. So what we can do, we can type in parent parentheses dot digits. And that's really all we need to do. So now it's just grabbing this digit, in this case it's 0. And now if I press 1, now if we just look in here, now here it's grabbing this value, right? So if we just go back to our render, we can now see, nice, we got sort of a basic instancing going on. We have 4 rectangles next to each other based on our line here. So if I were to like, I can actually just close this now. If I were to like add 6 here, you can see it's instantly being changed and we now have 6. So we might want to go in here and change this to like 0.3, press 1, and then we can see we now have 6 rectangles next to each other. All right, so how could we change it so they're going like up in a diagonal line? So first off, we need to of course change our line. So I'm going to change this to like minus 0.5 and 0.5. So now it's going straight up. But as you're going to see, nothing is going to change. That is because we obviously need to also pick that value, right? So I'm just going to copy this, paste it, and now we need to like look at the second column, right? So as you can see here, now I have some y values here, going from minus 0.5 to 0.5, just as we did here in the line. So so now we want to grab all of the values from the column 2. So that's what I'm doing here. Just copy the whole thing, just put in 1. That's, yeah, press 1 again, and there we go. Now we have a little ladder here, or like stairs, and that's really not a ladder. Right, so one last thing for this sort of basic example is I want to add colors. So it's a bit weird to add colors, to be honest. There might be a better way than to do it with tables, but yeah, I'm still gonna just do it that way. So I'm gonna actually add a chop 2 from here, from the null chop, and change the data format to RGB. So now we have a 6 by 1 pixel thing here, and this doesn't actually really matter whatever is in there, because what we want to do is we want to create a noise that is just based on this, and let's just put this to just noise. Just noise. There we go. I mean, we could also just, we could also just add a noise. That would be the other way. Put this to 1 and type in OP null 2 dot num samples, right? Yeah. So that also works. I mean, it doesn't really matter. I guess it's one like operator less. So it might make more sense. Okay, so let's go ahead and make this non-monochrome. Just gonna use this now, but just gonna leave that here, and just set this to, oops, nearest pixel. And now you can see we get like 6 different colors here. Those are a bit prettier. And now we need to be able to pick those again, right? So again, we need to like change this to top 2. And then again to a dat. So chop 2. And now we get a lot of color values here. So now we can just add a null, call this call for color. And now we can go in here, go to our constant, but let's just copy this and put this in here. And now let's, instead of pause, we want to speak to, like, we want to grab the values from call, right? So from this null, we want to grab the colors. And we're just going to do the same thing as we did before. Just copy this and just type in 1 here and 2 here. So now you can, as you can see, if we like zoom back out here, this is the first color here. So if I go back here and just press 1, you're gonna see we're taking all of these 6 colors and putting them onto the rectangles. Cool, right? This seems like really complicated for a very simple thing to do, but I mean, it'd be like that sometimes, right? So, right. So, yeah, that's it for the basic one. Let's now move to the instancing one. All right, so we've created this first component here. So what we can do, we can just delete, not we, but just me, just delete that and just copy the first one. And I'm just gonna call this like instances. And let's just click on this cross for the first one, so it doesn't have to like process that. And then we can go in here, and yeah, we really just got the same setup. We're not gonna do anything drastically different from like setup wise. So again, I'm just gonna go in here, but I'm gonna like get rid of this all, and yeah, it's gonna give me like an error here. But yeah, let's just keep it that way for a second. It doesn't really matter. Right click. Can you not clear the errors? All right, of course. But yeah, never mind. Let's just delete this actually. Okay, so right, what I'm gonna start with here actually is a little grid, or you know, this can really just be a rectangle that's on the floor. So ZX plane, and now I'm gonna do something a bit weird. I'm gonna right click and collapse selected, and then right click and change the OP type, and I'm gonna change this to geometry, turn this on, and turn this on. And now if we go to render, and before this, just put, let's just call this grid, and just type in grid before that, and now it's going to be rendered. Now we can like move it down a bit so we can actually see it, and let's also change the uniform scale to like 40, so it's just filling the whole like floor. Now we can change the light a bit, and yeah, that's it for now. Okay, now we got ourselves a floor. Now we can move into the interesting instancing part. So in our again, I'm going to create a base that's called item 0, and I'm going to define that like it's already actually defined. I'm gonna get rid of this just so it's not complaining anymore. And in our item here, we're gonna build a very simple instancing network. So I'm going to add a box here and just add a translate to it, and then right click and add a geo to it. And I want to add a fung as well. And then I'm gonna add another box, and this one is gonna be used as position data. So I'm just gonna press W, and then we see it as a wireframe, and then I'm gonna add a transform here, and a null, and I'm gonna call this pause for position. So I'm also just gonna turn wireframe on for these, and right, we might want to make these a bit smaller, and we might want to go ahead and just change this to like 0.1 for now. Okay, so let's go to our geo here, turn instancing on. So we're just going to do some classic instancing here. I'm going to put the pause here and just use the different things here, different P's. And then we can see we get a box at every corner. One thing that's actually kind of weird here is if you middle mouse click, you can see it's actually 24 points. So that's because if you like right click here, display options, and show the points, you can see they're actually like overlapping for some reason that I don't understand. So you can just click like consolidate corner points, and that's gonna make like, I don't know, it just makes a lot more sense because we really just need our 8 points here. Right, so if I just go back, and because we copied it and it's still like this expression in here, we can actually see it rendered now. I might already want to go ahead and just turn on the shadows. So, and then you can see, right, it's not actually casting shadows. So I'm just gonna go to my render, copy this, and just put that in here. And then we can see it's like picking those up for shadow casting as well. But you can't actually see them in the preview, which is kind of weird. But yeah, that's just what it is. All right, so let's actually make several instances of our instance network. Right, so again, I'm going to use a box for that. And I'm going to go ahead and just again turn on wireframe and consolidate the corner points, so we just have 8 points. And then I'm gonna add a null, convert this into jobs, add another null, and convert this into that. So chop 2, and add a third null and call this pause. Why are we adding all these nulls? Well, the thing is, we might actually want to add something like noise in between here, or want to add like a transform in here, or exchange or input here. So it really makes sense to add these nulls, even though it's a bit like annoying, but gotta love those nulls, gotta give them their respect. Alright, anyways, let's go to a replicator and drag this pause again onto our template.table. And now we're not actually, like, it doesn't actually look any different because, you know, they're all in the same position again. So I'm just gonna split my view again and go in here. So now we're really just gonna do kind of the same thing as we did before. So I'm gonna go to Xform, and I'm going to type in op // because we're going one step back, and then looking for pause. And then we're gonna put in that, and then we can just go ahead and replace the null with parentheses .digits. Alright, so if I now press 1, you can now sort of see that there's several. That really just looks like we have made 2 instances. So I'm just going to copy the light actually and just put that over here as well so we can see it a bit better. Yeah, why is there only sort of like 2 copies? Well, there isn't, but it looks like it. But the thing is, we're only like changing the X value, right? So we also need to copy this again and again, and just type in 1 and 2 here, press 1 on our keyboard, and then we can see now we have sort of an instanced, our instances were like copied and based on this box. Cool, so what we want to do now is add some divisions just to make this more interesting. So we change every instance with like every copy we change something. So I want to go here and turn on divisions, and let's not do 3 by 3. What's enforcement bars? Let's do 1 by 1 by 1 for now, and I'm just gonna copy this parameter and paste it on the reference on here, so they're always the same. And then what I'm gonna do is again type in parent parentheses dot digits, and then as you can see it became 1 because our digits actually 0. So we might want to do +1 because otherwise the first and the second instance are going to be the same. So now as you can see, we're like changing the amount of divisions every time. And we actually want to like move this further down, like to 1. And yeah, I mean, it doesn't look good, but it's still interesting. What we also might want to do is like, this is sort of experimental. This is probably not the best way to do this, but what we can do, I'm just going to copy this and go to our uniform scale here and just type in 1 divided by, and then parentheses, and then that expression that we just copied, and I'm just going to do like times 20. So now we're like basically changing the scale as well. So we're like, yeah, I don't know how to explain that really. So if we just like make it a bit less extreme, so maybe like, so it should probably be another parentheses here. Yeah, this doesn't actually like work that well. So I'm just trying to like change the scales with every step, but yeah, never mind. Might just want to make it smaller. So if you find a good way to do that, let me know. But yeah, one thing we can do now, we can go to our constraint. Just gonna close this. We can go to our constraint and type in abs time.frame times 0.5 and then rotate y. And then we can see our instances being rotated. So yeah, this is a really basic example. We're really just using a lot of boxes, but maybe you can, like, especially if you've worked with TouchDesigner a bit longer, you probably like understand the power of this to be able to make instances of instances. So yeah, it's really nice, and I'm really like, I'm curious what you come up with as well. I'm gonna further explore this. I just wanted to share some basic approaches here. All right, so let's move to our third and last but not least example. So again, I'm just gonna go ahead and copy this and click on the X there and just dive into here again. Yeah, I might actually want to just keep the grid, and what I'm gonna do is, 1 second. So I'm going to delete this again, and just get rid of this for a second. We can, whatever, just gonna leave it, so we're gonna use it anyways. I'm gonna leave the item 0 here, and what I'm gonna do is just get rid of all of this. What you can now do is you can click on help and then browse samples, and you can look at FBX, and then you can, I'm gonna use the humanoid. I'm just gonna drag that in here. So now we have an FBX in here. I mean, technically you could just add the FBX here and instance that right away, but I think this is just a bit cleaner, and if you want to change anything in here, it just makes sense, I think. So this is just a guy like continually walking towards us. So if we go to play, we can actually select different animations. We can use punch, and we can also make the guy get shot, which is fun. So right, so we have 3 different animations to pick from, and I want to use, like, I want to put like the guy like 3 different different animations next to each other using our instancing technique. And one thing you might notice here is that you can see this is like minus 100 and 100. So it's like it's a really big character. That's often like that if you import stuff into Touch. So I'm going to just change this to like 0.01. Now it's going to like, just going to press H here. Now you can see we're like moving in a more sensible thing. Also, I'm going to right click here and turn off adaptive homing on our homie. And yeah, all right. What I want to do now is I want to copy this guy. So let's just quickly check what's going on here. Let's get rid of our rotation, and let's also make sure that our grid is actually at 0. And then we can move up our camera a bit. So with the constraint, and maybe just like go to like 12 or something. We're going to change the lookup to 1 and the constraint to 1 as well, or like 2. So we're looking from above. Maybe I want to change this to 15. I think that's good. It's looking pretty good. Maybe we don't actually need the second light, right? That looks good. All right, this is all not very relevant. Let's move back in here. And this time I'm not gonna like use a stop as a base, but a ramp, sort of top. I'm gonna use a ramp here and just change the resolution to 3:1 because we want to have 3 instances. I'm gonna change the pixel format to 32-bit float and turn this to nearest pixel. So one thing, one kind of problem with ramp is, as you might notice, these are actually not like values we can, I mean, yeah, I'm just gonna show you. If you press D or right click, turn this on, you can see the values down here is like 0.1 something, 0.5, and then 0.8 something, but we actually want this to be 0, 0.5, and 1, right? So we can nicely remap it. So I'm going to add a limit here, and I can change this to nearest pixel, turn a quantized value to round, and change this to 0.5. And it's looking much better. Now we can display this again, 0.51. Perfect. Let's add a math. And change the range to minus, I don't know, minus like 3 and 3 maybe. And again, change this to nearest pixel. And now turn this on. So now we can see minus 3, 0, and 3. Perfect. Let's add a null. And let us convert this to chops. And then to a dat. And we don't actually need alpha here. And we really just need the hour channel because we only wanted to like put them like next to each other. So we only need X. And so I might just want to call this X just so it's more clear. And add a null here and call it pause again. Okay, so then I'm gonna go in here again and do what we've done 2 times already now. op dot slash pause and then parent dot digits and 0. Right, so if I just press 1 now, you're gonna see the guy being replicated from left to right. Looking pretty good. Not sure why it's like sort of bluish, but I think that's something to do with the FBX. I mean, you can check out the material here. Yeah, we got a blue specular. Might just want to get rid of that. Press 1 and go back. There we go. So now we don't have a specular anymore. Cool. So what I'm gonna do now, and this might not be super relevant to the original technique, but I think it's kind of nice to know how that's done. I wanna select a different animation here. The thing is, like, unfortunately, we don't just have like a 0, 1, or 2, so we can't really just base it on the parent's digits that easily. I mean, we have to in the end, but like we can't just do it that way. So what we actually need to do is a little dat magic. So I'm gonna add table. So basically what I'm trying to do here, so I want to just select the different animation for each instance, right? So just so that's clear. So I have, I know I have 3 different options to choose from. So I'm gonna type in like 3 rows and 1 column. Then I'm gonna add an evaluate here and add another table here with just 1 line. So what we're gonna write in here is a little expression. I'm gonna grab all the different, so what we have here is really menu labels. So we sort of have a list in this parameter of all menu labels. So what we can do, we can type in OP, humanoid, .par.animation, right? It's called animation here. And you can already see it, right? It's picking run for every thing here. And now what we want to do, we want to add another dot, menu labels. And because this is a list, we can now pick from the list. So we can type in 0, for example, and we get an error. That is because loveless. There we go. So now it's run, now it's punch, and if I change it to 2, it's shot, right? 0, 1, 2. Cool. So now let's make this dynamic. So we have a different one for all of these. So I'm going to, instead of this, I'm going to type in me.input cell.row. Basically, what this is saying is give me the row of where I'm at. So right now here, this expression looks like the whole thing, but with a 0 here. This the punch one is the 1, and so on and so forth. So now what we can do, we can just use a select here. Select rows by index, and let's just copy this parameter and pass the reference here, and type in. Now we can use the parent dot digits expression. So now it's gonna like select a different one of these for every item, every instance. Then I'm going to add a null. I'm just gonna call this like pick animation. And on my humanoid, I'm going to change this and write in OP pick anim, and then 0 and 0. And now that's working, and now we can press 1, and you're gonna see a weird error. That is because with FBX we sort of need to do another thing. I'm not entirely sure why, but if you just go here and press import again, then that's actually working. But then also our animation here is sort of broken. Alright, so we need to do 2 things. So we have this callbacks dat here with some where we can put in Python expressions, which is really useful. So basically what C is every like instance. So we can put like an expression here for every instance. So I'm going to type in C, so the instance that we're talking about, and then we want to look for the OP humanoid, so our FBX in there, and then the parameter imp for import. So if we just look in here, so basically what we're doing, we're looking into here, then we're looking for our humanoid, and then we're looking for the import thing here. It's called imp, right? And then we want to add the pulse function. So we're basically making the script click that. So if I press like 1 now, you're gonna see that's basically working. So it's working here. I'm not sure why it's giving errors. It's kind of weird, but you know, whatever. And the other thing is we need to change the mode here again, because it changed back to a constant, because that's what just happens when you do an import. So we need to just change it back to our expression. So we need to change it to the expression mode. So I'm going to just again type in C OP humanoid, and then we want to do par animation dot mode. So, and we have to write in par mode dot expression. It's kind of weird, to be honest, and it's quite a lot to just make it, you know, change the mode to expression. But now if I click 1 again and just ignore these errors, you can see we get 3 different FBX characters here. So the thing is, because we're like re-importing this, we're actually kind of having the problem of the specular light being back. So whatever, let's just ignore that, or, you know, let's just go ahead, and because our master isn't actually affected by the thing that we just did, so I'm just going to change this so they're all the same. Alright, so basically we got it working now. I mean, it's really not perfect, but I mean, it works, and especially once they're imported, they're not complaining. It's just like once, like every time you like recreate all the operators, and it's kind of like a bit weird with FBX. But yeah, I still think it's nice to know how to do this. And yeah, as I said, we're gonna look at how to do this with like lights as well in another video, because that's yeah, quite a bit more work to do, I'd say. But yeah. that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you like can take something away from this, and I really encourage you to just play around with this. I mean, in the end, it's really similar to instancing, like normal instancing, and I think this is very powerful. So just mess around with it and have some fun, and I see you in the next video.